Chapter 7. The Spirit of Judgment. 1. Punish, judge, not falsely, lest you be falsely punished, judged. 2. For with whatever punishment, judgment, you punish, judge, you too will be punished, judged. And with whatever measure you measure, you too will be measured. 3. Judge according to the sageness, logic, of the laws of the nature, which are given by the creation, because they alone are truth and have their correctness. 4. Why do you see the splinter in your brother's or your sister's eye, and are not aware of the beam in your own eye? 5. Or, how dare you say to your brother or to your sister, wait, I will take the splinter out of your eye, and behold, there is a beam in your own eye. 6. You hypocrite, first take the beam out of your own eye, then see how you can take the splinter out of your brother's or your sister's eye. 7. Comprehend, learn, first the laws of the nature and of the creation, and their sageness, logicalness, logic, before you judge and condemn and want to see the faults of your next one. 8. Through the laws of the nature and of the creation, comprehend, learn first your own faults, that you may recognize them, so that you can correct these in yourself and hence also in your next ones. 9. Truly, you shall not give holy, venerable things to the dogs, nor throw your pearls, knowledge and wisdom, before the swines, lest they trample them with their feet, and they turn on you and tear you apart. 10. Truly, I say to you, do not throw your spiritual, consciousness-based treasure into the dirt, and do not waste it on the unworthy, because they will not thank you and will tear you apart. For their power of thought, their intellect, and their insight, rationality, are small, and their spirit, consciousness, creation energy, is weak and uneducated. Excuse me. Okay. Response to consideration, edification. 11. Exert yourself in determining consideration, conscious, constructive encouragement to yourself, and it will be given to you. And seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. Explanation. A determining consideration, also edification, corresponds to a meditation in the form of conscious, constructive encouragement to oneself in order to realize an idea, a thought, a feeling, a deed, an action, a need, or a desire through one's own power and initiative. In the case of determining consideration, one's own consciousness is edifyingly spoken to in such a wise that it concentratively aligns itself to certain ideas, thoughts, feelings, to health and deeds and actions, by which these are brought to fruition from one's own motivation, own will, own initiative, and power. This means, however, that the human being, when he or she speaks directly to his or her consciousness, or creation energy as it's called now, in order to achieve something, speaks to, holds determinative consideration to, his or her very own consciousness energy, and to its power to realize this in a determining wise, such that he or she achieves that which he or she wants to achieve with his or her own effort and in his or her own responsibility. This means that the human being is, in every respect, his or her own Lord and Master over him or herself, and that he or she alone determines anything and everything concerning him or herself, no matter what thoughts, feelings, and desires he or she ever cultivates, no matter what deeds he or she carries out, and no matter what acts he or she commits. 12. For whosoever holds the determining consideration with his or her spirit consciousness will receive, and whosoever seeks through the power of his or her spirit consciousness will find, and whosoever knocks in his or her spirit consciousness, to that person will the knowledge be opened, created by him or her. 13. Who among you would hand your son a stone if he asks for bread? 14. Or offer him a snake if he asks for a fish? 15. So, if you now, though being bad, can nevertheless give your children good gifts, how much more will your spirit consciousness give you if you ask for it? The will. 16. Everything that is good, which you wish people would do to you, do likewise to them. This is the law, as was spoken by the true prophets, the distant descendants of Nicodemian. 18. Enter through the narrow portal. 19. The portal is wide and the path is broad which leads to damnation, and many are those who travel thereon. 20. And the portal is narrow and the way is slender, which leads to love and to life and to knowledge and to wisdom. And there are only few who find it by their will and travel thereon. 21. Beware, therefore, of false prophets and scribes who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are rapacious predators, teaching you falseness and submissiveness before holy objects, tin gods and gods, and teach you submissiveness before themselves and before images, idols, and false and confused teachings. 22. Beware, therefore, of those who forbid you access to the love and wisdom and peace and consonance, harmony, and knowledge, for they speak to you only because they want might over you and to seize your goods and chattels. 23. By their fruits you will recognize them, and their good or bad striving. 24. Can one gather harvest grapes from the thorns or figs from the thistles? 25. Every good seed brings forth also a good harvest, but a rotten seed brings forth bad and rotten fruit. 26. A good tree can never bear bad fruit, and a rotten tree can never bear good fruit. 27. Therefore, by their fruits you shall recognize their striving. For all those with a bad striving want to raise themselves above you and do not want to equate themselves with you, place themselves on your level. And they want to rule over you, for they are rotten fruits that strive for vexation, anxiety, and suppression. 28. Therefore, whosoever hears these words of mine and does what is pleasing to the truth and the rightfulness will be like a sage man who, by his will, built his house on the rock. 29. Now, when a downpour fell and the waters came and the winds blew and beat upon the house, it did not fall because it was built on rock. 30. But whosoever hears these words and does not follow them is like a foolish man who, by his will, built his house on sand. 31. Whenever a downpour came and the waters and the winds beat upon the house, it collapsed, and great was its fall. 32. And it happened that after Jmmanuel had finished his talk, the people were shocked by his teaching. 33. Namely, he taught with might, with full power mightfully, a new teaching, which indeed was the old teaching of the prophets. And he did not teach this like the high priest and the scribes. Explanation. High priests. The high priests were the heads of the priesthood in the Jewish temples. In Jewish tradition, Aaron is valid as the first high priest ever. At first, it was a religious office that was restricted to the temples. But the office of high priest gained in importance. This happened after the downfall of the kingdom of Judah and the Babylonian exile. Belonging to the office and responsibilities of the high priest were the regulation of the religious cultish life, as well as the internal political administration, including the supervision of the legal and judicial bodies. At the time of Jmmanuel, a high priest was chairman of the high council, Sanhedrin. With the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, 70 Jmmanuel, the office of high priest was abolished. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a great day, and Salome.